I'm back. Evidently, somebody borrowed my hole punch and they didn't put it back in my kit. It got put in my leather supply bag. This, by the way, is my favorite rotary punch. See this? It's made out of real metal, not made out of little stamped pieces of metal that have been curved to shape. This punch will actually punch holes in real leather, and it won't deform in the process. Okay. Now, if you might notice, there are tiny little rings in the brass face of this punch on the receiver side of the punch. Those are because people have been using it without using a piece of backer material. Any little piece of leather will do, and what that does is it helps keep your punch from going bad. See, it blew a hole right through that rotted old piece of leather, and of course it put a hole through the piece that I wanted it to go through. But what it didn't do is it didn't make a fresh dent in the brass. Yes, the brass is replaceable somehow, but heck if I know how to do that, and I am not going to waste my time and money on it. Like I said before, I'm cheap. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to get the... You could buy this, by the way, at any one of these leather supply places. You can possibly get it at Tandy also, but you'll find that Tandy's more expensive. What we're going to do is use some imitation sinew here. It is made out of anything but animal product. Probably made entirely out of man-made product for that matter. And we're going to use a leather needle. These are called Glover's needles. You can buy them at your local Joann's. They have a special little feature in that the tips are tri-pointed. Well, it's got one point with three faces, so that would be a tri-faced edge. Tri-edged, that's the term. In any case, these are pretty beat up, but they're still sharp enough to do what I need them to do. Alright. I'm going to start from the back, work my way up, leaving enough room. I'm going to come through the big hole that I cut with the punch, down the middle hole, and if I can find the third hole, there it is. That's the joy of working with leather. It tends to wiggle around on you, and just because you punch holes on one side exactly 1/8 of an inch apart doesn't mean they'll be that way on the other side. Alright. And so you've probably noticed that the way that I thread my needle is kind of different. It's not like your standard sewing threading. Basically, I make a gigantic loop with the with whatever piece of sinew I'm happening to be using, and tie it at one end, and I keep that knot at the very end. Makes my life easier. Pull that back a little bit. To thread back through my hole, and I'm going to do this just a few more times. And with leather it can be hard just to find the hole, since it tends to have this habit of healing itself, or at least trying to heal itself. Okay. And back through the middle. Tell me if my head's in the way. Oh, you can't tell. There we go. So now what I've done is put my needle through the loop on the back side. That'll keep it from going through. And now I'm going to come back in the other direction. The joy of sewing is that absolutely everything thinks that you want to go around it, as opposed to avoiding it in general. Alright, and we have to find, there we go, the path. Back to the other side. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tie it off. Let's do that. And go through the loop itself again. Alright, this is going to require some handling. Good enough. Going through the loop of string. One more time. Hopefully you can see what's going on here in this high contrast environment that I've set up. Yeah. Alrighty. And finally, looping it through itself. Tying a little knot. Like that. Alright. Probably went completely off the screen. But, so, there you go. Brand new piece of leather. Old buckle. Buckle's holding just fine. And finally, yes, there's my old piece. We're just going to line this up roughly and figure out that the hole was over here. Mark it real quick with the Sharpie, with the sharp point there. And we're going to determine that we probably want to have this size hole. The only problem is I think this hole is going to be a little bit too big for the leather, which is why it tore out last time. So how are we going to make a smaller hole than we have a leather punch for? We'll have to get another leather punch, or we can cut backwards. The pressure is always going to be to pull outwards. So if we cut this way, what's going to happen is we're going to have a sharp edge where there's going to be pressure. If we cut this way, however, the dull of the blade is where the pressure's at. Come on. There we go. There. So now, when it pulls, it won't rip. And let's do the same with the back side to make sure the hole's the right size. On both sides. There. This will be a little bit of a pain in the butt to get on the first couple times, but afterwards that'll keyhole out just fine. So that's a replacement strap.